Good afternoon and good morning to those of you that have joined us from overseas. We've got I just can't believe how quickly these LinkedIn Lives come around. As you'll see, we haven't got Rick today, we have Andrew. Andrew, do you want to just introduce yourself before we talk about the topic of what we're going to speak about today?
Yep, sure. Thanks, Melody. So Andrew Considine, I'm the CTO of Helios. We are in the process of building out a platform to enable companies to be able to employ people and pay people worldwide. So very happy to be here to talk about AI and machine learning's place within global payroll. I've probably got about 12 to 13 years of experience of building out AI platforms and machine learning platforms in different verticals, including the payments and payroll space as well. So I've seen the kind of evolution of things go from the very beginning stages of fairly rudimentary AI tech and big data tech through to what we're seeing today, which seems to be a day-by-day change and evolution. So but delighted to be here.
It sounds like AI is really the buzzword, isn't it, at the moment? And even in the press or within the payroll industry, there just seems to be a big move onto it. Maybe later on I'll ask you what your thoughts are, because I think there was a summit, wasn't there, last year about whether or not it's going to destroy humans. But should we leave that to the end?
Sure.
As always, I love to hear where everyone's from. So let us know where you're dialing in from today. And also, if you do have any questions for Andrew, please feel free to post them in the comment box. If there's anything that we don't get around to, we will come back to you. So I see that we have somebody from Seattle. So good morning to you. That's a nice early start for you. So Andrew, let's start, shall we? One of the things that I've noticed, a lot of people have asked when we've spoken about this on webinars or just general events, what's the difference between RPA and AI?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think probably going back to what I was saying before about the evolution of AI and machine learning, I mean, there's a fairly distinct difference between the two. So RPA stands for robotic process automation. Probably the easiest way to think about that is effectively putting robots into environments and infrastructures that enable what would have been fairly manual, laborious type kind of task-driven processes within call centers, within payroll, within HR, and putting robots in to manage that process in an automated way. And that could be everything from jumping from screen to screen, which is often the case with a lot of legacy technology, kind of same data entry that could be kind of repetitive from a task perspective. And the whole idea of robotics is really to speed things up and to automate kind of back-end processes that used to take up a lot of people's time, right, rather than doing kind of the more valuable things that they could be doing. AI is the evolution and where things have gone from an intelligence perspective, from a machine point of view. But AI kind of covers a lot of areas. It's an umbrella term for multiple things. So everything from natural language processing, which I think is going to be really relevant within the payroll space, through to image recognition, predictive analytic models, machine learning, and also cognitive type tasks as well. And that whole AI world is obviously developing at a massively fast pace at the moment. And I think every day there seems to be a new Gen AI model that's come out. And Gen AI is kind of a combination of all of those things within AI. It's obviously getting smarter, it's getting faster based on better models, more data, faster compute power, more compute power as well. So AI is more generally targeted at, or at least kind of traditionally up until now, has been about, complex processes that kind of require an understanding, analysis, and then decision making, which is automated through technology. That's getting obviously smarter, but the AI will obviously take us a few steps on beyond just the kind of the robotic side of things of solving manual process into more intelligent decisions and more intelligent outcomes.
And this wasn't on something that we discussed in our summary before today, but you know that you can get these deep fake videos. Are they AI generated?
They are, yeah, they are. Yeah, and so it's probably this is where the trepidation comes in around AI, not just in terms of impact from a workforce and from a people perspective, but obviously it's the nefarious side of what AI can do. I mean, I'm kind of an optimist around these things and think about tech for good, and the same rate of change that's happening with those kind of nefarious type things that are coming out with deepfakes and all the rest. Technology is keeping up with the ability to be able to detect them, right, and to flag them up and to make people aware. So I think that's the the kind of glass half full look of the world or view of the world, is that as the kind of the bad side of tech takes over, the good side of tech can kind of keep up with it as well.
And I think that's like with everything, isn't it? New technology wise, there's the good and the evil, the good and the bad, isn't there? With anything new.
Yeah.
So can you briefly explain how AI and machine learning are currently being utilised in the global payroll processing?
Yeah, I think it's still fairly early days, but there's companies that are doing this themselves, as well as companies that are leveraging enterprise type platforms that are being built in this space. There's kind of various benefits that it's bringing up as well. So a lot of the world that we deal with is quite messy from a data perspective, and whether that's data that's coming in on the payment provider side of things, through to even data within the company's own data repositories as well, and also to do with the fact that a lot of the industry is still manual, right? So there's still a lot of manual keying going on, and there's still a lot of screen to screen type transfers. There's still a lot of off tech manual data creation and data inputs. So that naturally leads to discrepancies. And one of the benefits of AI and machine learning is that, they can spot patterns and also those discrepancies and also fix them as well. So it's kind of looking at discrepancies coming through in data, flagging those up, and then providing a resolution for it. And that resolution could be through the technology itself, through automation, or it could be flagging up to a human to come and solve as well. Other uses are things like scheduling. So things like routine tasks, whether it's data entry, validation, the kind of day-to-day monotonous type tasks that a lot of payroll professionals just deal with because of either legacy tech or existing processes. There's more and more kind of capabilities coming in from an AI and ML perspective to automate those tasks. Some of it's to do with robotics, but then also kind of using machines to take that out of the day-to-day. And then another benefit or another use is looking at things like fraud management. So detecting either whether it's patterns from a fraudulent activities kind of in payroll, whether that's with global payroll or even in-country payroll. And be able to detect those and deal with them. And a lot of the predictive models these days in the industry are based around that. And then kind of finally, and this is more getting into the Gen AI type of things, side of things, and as that world is definitely developing further, is using kind of language processing tools to handle whether it's employee queries or tasks, and really reducing manual intervention. And the idea of that is to obviously improve the employee's experience on a day-to-day basis, but then also provide clarity and accuracy in terms of the data they're receiving, kind of the questions they're asked. So I think that's how they're being utilized today. Again, it's very early days. So some of these type of capabilities, larger organizations are already starting to bed into their own tech stacks and their own infrastructure, whether it's kind of built out through their own organization through kind of digital transformation programs, or leveraging kind of third-party software providers and bringing them into their tech stack into their infrastructure to deliver that. I think below the larger organizations, the enterprises of the world, you've obviously got the mid-markets and smaller companies, and a lot of the tech that's been available up until now has been out of the reach of those kind of companies, just from a cost perspective and probably ability to be able to leverage that tech. I think actually what's happening now with Gen AI is and this gets bandied around a lot as the term, but it's kind of the democratization of this latest bleeding edge type technology, which means that every kind of all organizations from the very large through to the very small can leverage that tech and utilize it for the type of benefits that I just laid out then.
So It's just to say thank you so much for everyone that has commented on where they're from, and we've got people from Singapore. I think it's quite late there, all the way to the States and Barcelona, so a lot sunnier than where it is in the UK. So what are some of the common challenges that businesses are facing at the moment? Because you've said that some of the tech is out of reach, but are there any other challenges that they're facing?
I think that most of it is based around the kind of existing operating models and the way we've always done things. Like a lot of the challenges there today have been there for a long time. And again, kind of going back to what I was saying before, right? Whether it's inaccurate data, whether it's manual processes that are running on that either incorrect or incomplete data, kind of managing reams of data across potentially different countries in different jurisdictions with different regulatory demands and policies, and that kind of leads. It's a messy environment and it's difficult. And if you talk to, I think, most payroll professionals today, I think a large percentage of their time is spent managing or solving those type of issues as well. Again, there could be great technology in the company and the processes may be great, and that may not be the case, but it's a definite that those issues are out there with a lot of companies out there in the market as well. The other side of things is managing and calculating things like, whether it's payroll from an earnings perspective, deductions, health insurance, retirement, pensions, benefits. And again, companies could be managing that across multiple jurisdictions, and not all companies have 45,000 people around the world and the big enterprise platforms that can handle this kind of stuff. But the smaller companies may be employing people in multiple countries, and especially during and post-COVID, with the things growing more towards on the remote side of things, that obviously gets more and more challenging. The other side of things is just from a technology perspective. I think a lot of the software out there today is outdated, whether it's from an infrastructure perspective or the actual kind of payroll software that's managing businesses today. So it can be inefficient and really not keeping pace with the rate of change within the market. So changes in employees' behavior and norms and where they're located, where they want to work from, and the hours that they want to work, and the fact that they may have moved country, and supporting families in different countries and moving people around the world as well. So I think there's challenges on the technology front, and I think again AI and what's coming through on the Gen AI stuff especially is going to help solve some of those, but they definitely still exist today.
So what are the best practices can you recommend companies look at when they're implementing an AI-driven payroll solution?
So I think starting off at a simple side of this, so looking at where the manual tasks are in the company that are taking up people's time. So whether it's inputting payroll data, or whether it's data that's being generated within the company, whether it's data that's coming through from the company, from employees boarding into the company or into the organization, looking to automate those tasks. And today, again, with the technology that's available today, whether it's working with a partner who has built the capabilities out in a platform and an application that they can leverage, and potentially also building into their own infrastructure as well. Automating those manual tasks is going to be the biggest bang for buck in terms of time saving and impact to the organization. I mean, there's obviously lots of things to look at in terms of how that automation is brought into the company from a training perspective, from a compliance perspective, from a data and a security perspective as well. But that's really where the maximum impact can come from, with relatively simple implementations, and then from there, kind of moving on into how kind of other improvements. So whether it's looking at things like the accuracy of the data and the completeness of data that's running through into the company, whether it's from third-party partners all the way through to data that's generated within the company itself. But a lot of the time that's taken up again through payroll professionals and HR professionals comes from inaccuracy of data and mistakes being made because of either manual processes running or incomplete data coming through. And so there's a lot of hours and effort churned through resolving kind of things that are very simple issues or simple mistakes that could have been handled better. The other side of things is then moving up into automating and streamlining the operating model side of things. So whether it's managing performance management, in a more automated way, or looking at things like attendance and time off, benefit calculations. They're all, I guess, areas that can be addressed by better technology, just in terms of automating where possible. It's not about removing the human from, or the people from the process. It's more about augmenting their ability, and again, kind of taking, on the one hand, taking those manual processing hours out of the mix, so there's more time to do the more valuable parts of the role, but then using the capabilities that are there to augment that day-to-day capability, and ultimately to provide a better experience for the employees and the company as well.
What's your thoughts on this? I've noticed a lot of our vendors are looking at using AI for compliance. So if you have a question on something to do with compliance in another country, you can put the question in and then it comes up with the answer. There's some people just saying, you know, it's a little bit risky maybe at the moment because is it advanced enough? Others are more positive, you know, you're half glass. So what's your thoughts on using that for compliance?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's so different in every part of the world as well, and it's changing constantly as well. Or again, almost like the Gen AI technology, it feels like it's always changing on a daily basis as well. I think the main thing to look at is whether it's part of the organization and part of the technology approach of the company, or whether you're partnering with a platform provider or an ISV in this space who's built a platform that's going to help it automate and enable these type of searches. It's really looking about where the data is coming from. So, and that's on multiple levels. So one is obviously trusting the source of the data, and that can typically be visible through things like audits and ISO compliance, and validating and verifying the data sources of where the data is coming from. That's informing the response to those type of questions, or to automated processes that are running in the platform. But then there's also the governance around data as well. So how the data is managed within the company from a protection perspective, from a privacy perspective as well, is really important, because a lot of, kind of looking at this compliance space, a lot of the data that's going to be informing models, which will then inform either processes or responses to queries, is going to be based on a combination of third-party global data combined with internal data to the company as well. So the protections and boundaries around that internal data is really important as well, because one of the main things that companies are obviously going to be safeguarding against is the protection of their own employees' data, as well as their company data as well. So that, combined with third-party data from trusted sources, can make sure that the right information is flowing through platforms and technology into people, or into decisions. But it is a space that has to be watched really carefully. And I think again, going to the good side of tech, I actually think AI is a benefit in this case, because it's removing, first of all, it's the speed of changes being published through. So being able to take those data sources, being able to understand them, process that data, and then use that to inform next steps, is very different to having teams of people that are trying to pick through the data and update the data, update processes, and a lot of that can just get left behind just by nature of the fact that there's a lot to do all the time. So I actually think this is one of the really positive impacts of AI in this space, that it's going to make that data more accurate and reduce the risk of having poor data in that space.
So we've got a point from, let me just see if I can share it. Great points. AI solutions will help in the management of common risks for both HR providers, vendors, and customers, related to process streamline, scalability, compliance assurance, accuracy, data insights, privacy, security, etc. So thank you. So you mentioned security. So this leads me to cyber security and everything else. So one thing I think that's become apparent over the last couple of years is that the payroll department holds a lot of data, and there have been a few situations where they have been hit by bad actors. And I think even just a few weeks ago, wasn't it? in the UK, the government were hit. So does AI open up any further issues with data security, cyber security? Are there any further issues with using AI?
I think it does from an external perspective. I think there's two sides. So one, it protects against it as well, because a lot of the AI tools that are used there today are actually shoring up the boundaries around things like cyber attacks and kind of ransomware attacks. But on the same time, the flip side of that is obviously capabilities are growing from the bad actors as well, because they also have access to AI technology. I think, and come from companies where this is working in the financial services space, for example, where this is a very hot topic, and the protection of data and systems and infrastructure is a kind of core bedrock of the company, both not just from the company's data perspective, but also from their customers and employees as well. I think there's every company needs to look really carefully at this from the ground up in terms of how they're developing technology, how they're leveraging and utilizing the tools that are out there, and how they're implemented within their own environments. Obviously, there's all the process side of things from a compliance perspective as well. So I mentioned data governance before, as having the right data governance practices and policies implemented throughout the organization, but making sure that that becomes part of the, I guess, the ethos of every employee in the company. And it's not just for the cyber team to take care of, or for the technology team to take care of. It needs to become part of the day-to-day. Oh, still here? Have you got me, Melanie?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, hi, Andrew. We're talking about technology and what happens. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or what. So sorry, can you carry on?
Yeah, sorry. Hopefully I didn't drop out too late. But yeah, so just making sure that it's part of the kind of policies and training and part of the day-to-day of companies. Obviously from a technology perspective, we're going to need to look more and more at things like threat modeling. So different exercises about identifying security threats that kind of AI is generating, and probably that's the trickiest part of this space, is because it's moving so fast, and it's not just the AI tools that all of us will implement within our own organizations. The democratization also means that every employee is having more and more access to this external capability, right? So, and you don't want to limit that, but you want to put the right boundaries around it, which are protecting the company and also the employee from the bad actors that are out there, right? So best practice, the right policies, the right training to try and protect against that. There's everything from looking at identity management across the organization as well, making sure that whether it's an AI kind of entity or asset within the company through to a person has the same kind of privileges and authorization, and that's managed really carefully. And then the other thing as well, I think from a company perspective, and this is probably what's going to get through the phase we're in now, where there's a bit of probably because of the unknowns. I think there's people see a bit of a threat coming through with AI, and I think that's largely based on, if you look at how AI has been used previously by the big tech companies, it's largely been based around mining your data and making money off you. Right. That's pretty. The social media companies. That's what they've been doing. And so I think that's at the back of everybody's minds. And because we keep hearing about it in the media, and I think the younger generations are probably more open to sharing their data, obviously, than maybe I would be. But that's just a generational thing. But that's kind of the basis that the big tech companies were using this technology, from a long time back to do this. Now we're starting to bring that tech into the day-to-day operations of our businesses, right? So it's getting over those hurdles of understanding around, from a cultural perspective, of that tech is going to be here for good. It's not here to to do bad things with data or to make life more difficult. And I think the way to get everybody comfortable with that within an organization is being very transparent about how data is used within the company, how it benefits employees within the company, and that it's being used for the greater good, as opposed to being there to monitor or to watch people, or to kind of be used in a way that's potentially detrimental to an employee. I don't think any company would be using AI in that way, or at least we'd be working for, right? So, but it's about getting through that initial hurdle of getting people to understand the good parts of it as opposed to the potentially bad parts.
And it's just something new, isn't it? So, I'm assuming that everyone has, well, most people have a mobile phone now, and there's going to be an element of AI on your mobile, I would assume. But then I'm not a tech person, but I'm assuming there is some element of AI on everyone's phone.
And it's going to get more and more so. I mean, it exists today in things like Siri and Alexa, and so you have access to AI bots today through your mobile phone. The way the technology is advancing, though, is that it's putting that compute power out to the edge. Effectively, it's called caching, but basically putting that same kind of AI capability that exists in places like ChatGPT today and pushing that to the edge. And that edge could be your mobile phone, or it could be a headset, or it could be your TV, or it could be your fridge eventually as well. But from a mobile perspective, pushing that to the edge means that you'll be able to effectively access these models in real time. And I think the leapfrog in capability is that if you look at Siri today, you're effectively talking to a search on the internet, right? So you can ask Siri a question, Siri will go off to the internet and come back and say, I found these 5 things, right? It's kind of the response to it. The way the Gen AI models that come out, what's going to change is instead of that being just a Q&A type response, is you'll move into a conversation. And you can think about this in terms of how this will be in the day-to-day experience of an employee of the company, to everything from boarding. So imagine instead of walking through a kind of 30-page or 30 kind of screen onboarding flow through to I'm having a conversation with an AI agent, and we're talking about who I bank with, my experience, what my questions are. Can you tell me a bit more about this company? And it'll be able to understand everything from how I'm reacting as a human, how I'm talking, kind of language inflections and accents, and be able to respond. And that's where it's moving to. And that kind of push the edge means that it won't just be on computers; it'll be on mobile phones as well.
So interesting, isn't it? So we've got a few comments. Michael, I'm going to leave your comment to the end because I think it's a really good comment, but I think it's a good one to finish with. We have one person here whose company is moving a little bit slow because of security risks. Hi Sarah, good to see that you're on today. These are such important conversations to have. We need to learn how to safely embrace this life-changing technology, and it is a generational thing, isn't it? It is, because the younger generation just like, what's the problem? This is what we want to see. And maybe it's, I think I might be older than you, Andrew, but maybe it's our generation that are a little bit more concerned about it. Can I just ask the audience, has anybody used like ChatGPT or anything like that? Is anybody playing about with AI to understand it? Because I think there's an issue, isn't there, Andrew, where people are maybe a little apprehensive about it or haven't used models. I mean, obviously, I think pretty much everyone's used Siri or that's Alexa or whatever. I'm a bit nervous saying it just in case it pops up. But I think it's good to actually have physical experience of just playing about with. I know there are other things other than ChatGPT, but those sorts of things, just to, here you go, Meg. Well, good to see you, Meg. She uses it every single day. I think I use it every day. Just always think, what's ChatGPT going to say on this topic? Do you think we should? Sorry, my question's getting really long. Do you think we should start playing about with AI so we understand it more in the work capacity?
I think so, and it's the best way to get to know it, right? And I think, again, kind of the generational thing, I think everybody, certainly my first foray into it, I was thinking I'm cheating, right? It's kind of that natural inclination of, it feels like I'm cheating, but the reality is you're not. What you're doing is kind of streamlining your own thought process around, using it to kind of make things easier for yourself. I think the next step, once you start trying, whether it's ChatGPT or one of the models, it starts to get you comfortable with it. I think from an organizational perspective, and I've seen this in previous organizations where we've implemented this before, is to start bedding it into the company in terms of having proper coaches and trainers who are kind of there from there to help and support the people, the employees, to be able to start using the tools in a more effective way, right? And we used to do this years past with agile coaches in engineering and product, and it's the ability to just start getting people to start using it as part of their day-to-day tasks, right, and starting implementing it. And so I think everybody should start using it for sure. Again, having good boundaries around how we use it as well. So not putting personal data in it, first of all, not putting company data in it, but making sure that it's used wisely and safely, just as you would if you were talking to an external person or external party. In terms of fact finding or making tasks easier as well. So yeah.
Well, Andrew, as technology goes, you froze an unfortunate position.
I've just seen that.
No, this is why we love technology.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah.
Anyway, but we can hear you well. You can stay off camera if you want, and maybe try it again in a few minutes. Because, but yeah. So I mean, it's great to see so many people are playing about with ChatGPT. Well, there you go. You're back to normal now.
Okay. Scratching my nose.
Yeah, we do. We're actually implementing something on our membership, and it is a big process. It is hard to. It's I suppose in my naive way, because I'm not a technology expert, I assumed that it would be quite straightforward. But because it's quite new tech, it is actually quite complicated, isn't it? And it's quite a long process. It's not just a plugin.
No, it's not. Yeah, like any tech, it takes a certain amount of implementation. I think it is getting faster and easier though. Yeah. This is my take on it. There's going to be a lot of companies, as there are with any kind of hype cycle type technology, who are going to pile into the space. There's going to be a lot of companies who are looking to see how they can leverage the technology to build platforms or to build services or build a go-to-market proposition around it. There's going to be a lot of that going on. The biggest challenge for those type of companies who are building around AI is going to be the speed of change and keeping up with the latest models. And there's kind of great examples of the kind of a startup that's coming into the space and building out a platform using AI. And then 2 weeks later, a company has used AI to effectively build that company and take it to market, right? So it's kind of, there's a flip side to it. I think for companies, and everybody probably on this, on the live session here is from a payroll perspective, I think companies will be implementing the technology that is a fit for their organization, their process, their operating model, and what they're trying to achieve, from everything from day-to-day automation through to insights management, to growing the business, to kind of empowering employees to move faster and to be able to do their job better and to be able to be more accurate in their day-to-day operations. Then also to be able to ask questions, right? So a lot of HR and payroll professionals' time is spent either dealing with issues and inaccuracies of data and all the rest, or just responding to questions, whether that's on leave entitlement or salary or contractual details. That kind of thing will be sped up with AI. And again, I think the implementation of it is getting easier. It's about partnering with the right partners to help manage that as well. I think on the large enterprise side of things, a lot of it will come through a combination of big transformation. For the last 10 years, it's all been about digital transformation. The next curve is going to be AI transformation, 100%. That's definitely coming. But then for smaller companies, that may not be on the cards from a cost or time or people perspective. So it could well be partnering with the right companies to help streamline and automate that. Companies who've used AI as part of their core capability to help roll that in for them.
Okay, well, we've got a comment here, so let me read this. I feel like AI is a term which has been muddled and that companies take advantage of that by boasting AI capabilities, which in reality turn out to be quite limited. Would Andrew be able to help us make the difference between a real AI application in payroll versus what a marketing team might label as AI, when it's really just a simple automation that would have existed for years?
Yeah, that's a great example. And great question as well. And the reality is that everybody's jumping on the bandwagon from an AI perspective. It is definitely the buzzword of the day. And the reality is a lot of this has been around for a long time. So these capabilities have existed in one way, shape, or form for a long period of time, especially robotics. That's over a decade old now. And so to answer that question from an automation perspective, a lot of that's been in play already. I think the change that's happening now is on two fronts. So one is the models are getting smarter, they're getting faster. The modality of those models is changing as well. So it's going from what was previously based around kind of understanding large quantities of unstructured data and being able to kind of process that and provide an answer, through to actually being able to analyze images and videos and sound and audio alongside kind of unstructured data, and being able to use that modality to provide something that's true AI, which is effectively kind of ability to understand context and reason, right? That's kind of the big change that's coming through the latest, even just the last 12 months around ChatGPT, and kind of we're going through into the third model this summer with them. Also ChatGPT 5 this summer probably. So that modality is what's changing. So when the marketing team's talking about AI, every marketing team in the world is talking about AI at the moment. And I think it's really about digging beneath the surface and finding out really what's involved in that. And if it's a shiny tool, and it could be used for good, right? It could just be using it for a AI chatbot type application, or you could be using it at a fundamental change level in the company. The big difference is today is the ability of those models, and then also probably the user interface into those models as well. So this is what didn't exist before. Us as ordinary human beings didn't have access to this technology because there was no kind of context-based user interface into it. So you couldn't ask them a question, right? I mean, it started off with Siri and Alexa, and when they first came out, they were incredible, right? Because it was our first ability as kind of normal humans to come and ask a question, and a response would come back. And I think that's what's improved. So yeah, I think it's obviously in the technology space, it's kind of just like everything from big data back in the day through to blockchain and now AI. There's always a hype cycle. We go up through the hype cycle, and then what comes out the back end of the companies that have actually built something meaningful that's going to make a difference to people.
It's really strange because I never thought about Alexa or Siri being the first step really into AI. But you're right, I've never put that into the context before.
Yeah, from a usability perspective, for sure, right? It just, a lot of it was, it was there, but it was behind the machine, the backstage, right, rather than front stage. And like I said, those big tech companies are the ones that brought it up to the front in front of the consumer or employees.
So I just want to say thank you so much for everyone that's asked questions and got involved. And please, if you've got any further questions, please ask away. And if we miss you, because I know you can see this once the event has finished, then I'll send them on to Andrew. We did have so many questions, but I just want to end on something. So Michael's question really is about why should payroll professionals not feel threatened? So I think this could be quite a long topic. But yeah, what's your thoughts? Because I think with RPA, I think we were talking about RPA. We had meetings we did like a circuit in the States and luncheon meetings, and the topic was pretty much about RPA, and people thought they were physical robots, and they felt threatened that they would lose their jobs, but it was just to deal with the manual tasks. And again, we're having that conversation now with AI, that people feel threatened. What's your thoughts on that for the payroll industry?
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on this one. One of the everybody's probably heard this statement at some point along the way about AI isn't going to steal jobs, but people who use AI are, right? And I think that's an interesting statement. I don't necessarily agree with it though, and I think again, it's probably a statement that would again apply to younger generations who are coming through, who are tech savvy and are using this as part of their day to day, and it's just become second nature. But not everybody wants to jump into that, right? So there is a level of, I guess, the kind of feeling of potentially distrust, right, or that it is going to change how I operate on my day to day. What I actually think is that yes, people are going to become better at doing their jobs through AI, but I also think that from a technology perspective, a lot of what's being built out there is going to improve again, the day-to-day operations of payroll professionals and other professionals in different parts of the organization as well. I think from a job displacement perspective, the main thing is through what's coming with technology is that routine tasks may be automated, but I do think that AI is going to augment people's roles in terms of instead of the manual day-to-day routine tasks kind of being the norm, that will really be, or the input from people will be more as an exception as opposed to kind of 80% of the job. So I don't think jobs will be displaced. I think technology is just going to make people's jobs more valuable and the contributions to the organisation more in line with what they've been educated to do and trained to do, and they've spent their careers building up a huge amount of knowledge and IP, which is not easy to replace, right? And I think though AI is going to become more contextual, more based around sentiment and kind of analyzing situations, the context side of things is really, and the experience side of things, it really does come from humans. So I think though the concern is there, I think that will become less and less. Again, it goes back to kind of trust and transparency with the organization though. Like I think as companies implement more AI technology, and thinking about it from an augmentation perspective of people's jobs, I think that needs to be really transparent. This is how we're using data. This is what the data does. This is the value that it provides in the organization, and to you personally, and to the people that you support in the organization, and potentially partners as well. And a lot of that will come through change management. So kind of getting the champions, or identifying the champions within the company who can help guide everybody else towards the benefits that are coming through, and answer any questions around or concerns around whether it's security or whether it's about jobs becoming irrelevant. I think that can be answered with proper governance and proper approach within the company. And I think a lot of companies are gearing up for that now. I think that everybody's well aware that we need to make sure that people are using the benefits of the technology as opposed to feeling like it's a risk or a concern.
Well, it seems, I'm just going to leave on a couple of comments. So it feels like, so we've had a couple of comments similar to this. I want my company to use it to assist with reviewing payroll transactions for accuracy and possible risks. I opened a request from my IT to review, and I'm waiting for that. So we've had a couple of comments like that. So people are maybe keen to use AI in some way, but the IT the IT department or that side of things is slowing it down, so it might not go off as quickly as we all thought. And we've got to totally agree with Andrew. We have to embrace technology and look for ways to innovate with it and change our roles. I mean, I suppose it's like everything, isn't it? Hopefully with better technology, it should make your roles more exciting because you're taking away some of those mundane tasks. So we had somebody run a presentation for us, and they did use ChatGPT, but they took away sensitive data. But they just showed how they produced a report which would have taken 4 hours, which took them a minute or less to produce. So there's some fun things that I think we can use AI for, or maybe fun, is that the right word? Anyway, but better ways to use AI. Maybe I'm just a total geek. AI is a high priority for the business. I suspect Payroll will have to wait. So we'll wait and see what happens there. So while we're coming to an end, is there anything that you would say to the audience listening today about AI? Is there any bits of advice or anything that you predict for the future?
I mean, there's the future is an interesting thing because I don't think anybody can predict really what's coming next year, let alone in 5 or 10 years' time, because it's just changing so rapidly, and it's improving so rapidly as well. I think the kind of immediate benefits that will start coming through is just really focusing on employee experience, and whether that's as a payroll professional or with the people that you're supporting within the organization. I really think that's where the technology is going to just have a massive impact. And I get the point around kind of people waiting for this to come through and maybe feeling the payroll will be at the end of the queue. I think that's going to change. I think companies are going to adopt this tech very, very quickly, just in order to keep up with their competitors in the market and what employees will expect as well. But I do think what's coming down the track is going to be a better working experience for people in payroll, but then it's also providing a better experience to employees within the organization as well. I mean, in terms of the change, I mean, every day it feels like the next version of the next models coming out. But I think we should embrace it. Right? I think it's coming. It's inevitable. It's not going away. It's important that everybody, I think all of us embrace it and take the benefits from it as well. And again, not to be scared about it, because part of the democratization of it is that it's not just the realm of the techies or the super geeks, right? In terms of being able to understand this is all at everybody's fingertips, and it's available, right? You can go and experience it. You can try it out, and then just learn to use it in a way that benefits you in your day-to-day, kind of life and job, and you kind of use it for all the benefits that are there, and stay up to date with it, and again, it's all available in there, and within all of the companies that we're working for, every single one of them, I am sure, is looking to see how the technology can be adopted to help address challenges and current bottlenecks within the company. So I would think that it will be coming through to everybody's day-to-day very quickly.
Well, thank you so much. I think the word is embrace for today. So embrace it while using policies, training, security controls to ensure employees are safe while utilising the new AI technology. So thank you so much. So, I mean, I suppose the geeky side of me just thinks, play about with it, have some fun with it, and let's embrace it. I think we're all pretty intelligent. We're all, we're all very compliant, aren't we, in the payroll industry? So let's maybe have this conversation in 6 months' time and see what the differences are.
It'll be huge. I guarantee it. In 6 months' time, who knows where we'll be? But it's definitely moving that quickly.
Well, let's make that a date, I think, then, Andrew. But thanks so much for sharing your information today. Thank you to everyone that's joined us. Rick will be back with us in a month's time. But if you have any questions for Andrew, I'm sure he'll be happy to receive any LinkedIn communication, and also myself. Feel free to get in touch and I can pass them over. So thanks, everyone. Great to see you all, and see you next month.
Thanks, Melanie. Thanks all.